Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, distinguished members of the academia, and other distinguished guests, members of the graduating class of 2023, ladies and gentlemen, I stand with profound and sincere gratitude in receiving this award. It is already sufficient honor that I should be conferred with this honorary fellowship, but I count it double honor that it should be conferred on me by my former university, a place for which I have great fondness and from which I hold happy memories. Now, I should point out, Chancellor, that awards such as these are not conferred on people like me in the typical way that the script of life is read, but I thank God that He has a way of overriding how the story ends. But before I proceed to say anything further, I'd like to recognize that I do not stand only in my behalf to receive this award, but I do so on behalf of the members of the Community Legitimacy Panel, for whom I have utmost respect, who have committed their time and have served their community, and they have done so with the simple motivation of not wanting to leave the world as they found it, because, as my mother would have said, we are not responsible for the world we inherit, but we do share a responsibility in the world we bequeath. And so it is upon us that the responsibility falls, all of us, that we do our part to leave this world a better place than we found it. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the leadership of Gloucestershire Constabulary, who have committed themselves to engaging with us and to try to secure greater equity in policing in our county. So what do I mean when I say that in the typical script of life, these awards are not conferred on people like me? I'm just a country boy from Jamaica. My dad died through illness at age 7. We were a large family and people of very humble means. But I thank God that I had a mother and have a mother who is a force of nature. My mother helped me to understand early on that things don't have to always be simply because they have always been. And she was the bridge between my aspirations, which she helped to cultivate, and what was my then present realities. So I'm grateful that I had a mother who was devout in faith, resilient in character, and compassionate in spirit. Now, I do not suggest that I have any wisdom that I can pass on to you, but I would share what I consider a little portion of what I would consider timeless wisdom. It is the unfortunate reality that our world is besotted with anger and with rage, and consequently we are beset with conflict and bereft with grief. Many of you will rise to positions of authority in the future. I congratulate you on the completion of this leg of your life's journey. And in time, you are going to find yourselves as leaders of departments and companies, as practicing solicitors and barristers, of heads of companies. It was already explained to us, the popular quote by Maya Angelou, that people will not remember so much what you have done, what you've achieved, but they will remember how you made them feel. People won't remember that you gave them an increase in their salary. They won't remember that you promoted them. They will remember if you gave them a phone call when they had a bereavement. They will remember if you had a listening ear when they had a difficult time at work. Whenever you go out into the world to make your mark, I suggest to you that you embrace a spirit of compassion and embrace the neighbor principle. Now, I will tread carefully here because my teacher of the law of torts, my lecturer, Mr. Richard Law, a man for whom I have great respect, is sitting in the audience, and so I do not want to disappoint him that I didn't pay attention in class. I did. I think it was around 1910, a case came before the House of Lords the Judicial Committee of the House of Lords. It was called Donahue and Stevenson, and every law student sitting in this audience will recognize that case immediately. I will spare you the facts because I recognize many of you will go on to have a meal after this gathering, and I don't want you to recall the facts as you are eating. But in that case, Lord Atkin, who gave the lead judgment, devised in law what became known as the neighbor principle. And I won't go into that so much. I want to emphasize the point that although Lord Atkin introduced that in our law, he was not creating a new idea. In fact, he was merely introducing an idea into law which was already introduced through the religious dimension. He was merely quoting a story from the Bible called the Good Samaritan. And in this story, a man was traveling between Jericho and Jerusalem when he was attacked by robbers. He was beaten up, he was stripped, and he was left for dead. And a priest came along and saw this man. And you would expect a priest to show compassion, but he crossed over on the other side. And a Levite came, and you would expect a Levite of a priestly family that he would also show compassion, but he too crossed over on the other side. But a Samaritan came, and the Samaritans and the Jews had no commonality in their heritage in the sense that they were always in conflict. They do share some common lineage, but they were always at odds with each other. And here comes a man with a different culture, a different language, a different life experience. But he stopped, got off his donkey, lifted this man onto his donkey, took him to an inn, to a hospital, paid the cost of his care. And a lawyer in conversation with Jesus wanted to know who was his neighbor. So Jesus asked him, which of these three do you think is his neighbor? And of course the obvious answer is the man who helped him. Now Dr. King was preaching on this, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he said that when the two gentlemen who came first and second saw this man, they asked the question, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? Perhaps the robbers are still lurking in the bushes and they might attack me also. So if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? But the Samaritan came along and he reversed the question and he asked, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? You are going to rise to positions of authority. Please remember that when you get to the top of the ladder, bear in mind the people who built the ladder for you. Hand something down, pull someone up. You will meet people in life whose stature has been diminished, lift them up. You will meet people in life who do not have the agency or the voice to speak for themselves, speak up for them. Be neighborly. That is what I would like to share with you. And by doing so, you can leave as no less than Henry Longfellow tells us, footprints on the sands of time. I encourage you, in all that you do as you go forward, to embrace the neighbor principle. Thank you very much for listening.